Lord Kagemitsu Daigo thinks back to the time he made a deal with the 12 demons in the Hall of Hell, prepared to walk the road of evil in exchange for power. While he waits for his wife Nui no Kara to give birth, the devils demand their payment when his firstborn son is born. The infant is born without limbs, facial features, or skin. The infant is abandoned to its fate and let adrift in the river. After 16 years, he's a young man who travels alone. He comes into Dororo, a teenage petty thief, while searching for the sludge-like demon Deiki. Dororo has defrauded 3 men of their possessions. The young man then uses the blades in his prosthetic arms to cut down the monster as it attacks and devours the men. A demon statue in the Hall of Hell is split by lightning after the demon is killed, and the youth's missing skin returns. Back in Ishikawa, Kahamaru, Kagemitsu Daigo's second son, arrives home after a hunting trip, but Nui no Kara is still missing her first child. The young man appears to be unable to see, hear, or speak. He's like Matt Murdock, but anime. And of course Dororo follows him, because why wouldn't you? And because the blind, deaf, and mute dude possesses superior sword skills, superhuman strength, and the capacity to discern if a being is friendly or hostile based on the color of their soul, Dororo brings the young man to a village controlled by the stunning Bandai and makes a deal to kill a local monster that rings a pilgrim bell for a charge. They encounter the blind monk, Biwa Hoshi, there, who has the ability to discern people's souls. When they realize Bandai is actually a monster who has been devouring travelers, the boy kills her. The villager says that the monster that reappears and rings its bell is a ghost of the first creature that the villagers had killed. The young man tells Dororo and the monk his name is Hyakimaru. Hyakimaru regains his central nervous system and is able to feel pain as lightning strikes Bandai's statue in the Hall of Hell. Kagemitsu Daigo is informed that the Sakai clan appears to be gearing up for battle. Things are about to go down. The story of Jukai Sensei, a physician who not only treated patients' illness, but also created prosthesis for those who had lost limbs in battle or accidents, begins when his loved one was killed by Shiva's men. He quit his job as a crucifier for Lord Shiva and plunged himself into the sea. He learned how to create prosthetics after being saved by foreigners. He once came across the abandoned and malformed child of Lord Kagemitsu Daigo along a riverbed. He took the child home where he constructed the child's special prosthetics and allowed him to move and appear normal. Jukai gave him the name Hyakimaru 6 years later. In spite of the fact that Hyakimaru attracted demons, Jukai understood that the youngster's bodily parts had probably been taken by demons when the boy defeated a lizard demon and had his right leg mysteriously returned to him. Before Hyakimaru set out on his solo journey, Jukai fitted swords onto his prosthetic arms. After destroying the demon Bandai, Hyakimaru returns to the present and exercises his newly acquired sense of pain. Because what are we without a little bit of pain, right? While Hyakimaru stands outdoors and feels the rain for the first time, Dororo converses with the female Osushi. Hyakimaru suddenly spots a demon sword and bolts off. He comes across a man brandishing the sword, and the only way he's able to overcome him is by getting the blade stuck in his artificial leg. When Dororo touches the sword, he's drawn back to the owner and prevented from retrieving the leg. It turns out that the previous owner of the sword is Osushi's brother, Tanosuke. Osushi brings her brother home, but all he wants is the sword back. Tanosuke remembers how the demon blade Mihiru changed his life because of its insatiable desire for blood. Hyakimaru disarms Dororo in the meantime, but Tanosuke grabs the blade once again and assaults Hyakimaru. This time Hyakimaru fractures Mihiru and kills Tanosuke, giving him back his ears. Now he's probably Matt Murdock. When Hyakimaru is attacked by a large bird-like monster when still having trouble getting used to his new hearing, the Biwa Hoshi is the only thing that can save him. They are in Sakai territory, the priest informs them, and they're getting ready to advance on the Daigo army. Hyakimaru is acquainted with Mia, a young woman singing a lovely song, but he passes out from his wounds. The travelers remain at an abandoned temple with Mio and a bunch of orphan kids, and during the night Mio works as a prostitute for the Sakai forces. The Biwa Hoshi discovers a better location for them in the interim, but it is occupied by a monster. Hyakimaru goes to combat it, even though his wounds are still healing. The white aura surrounding Hyakimaru is beginning to have a demon-cursing overtone, which worries the Biwa Hoshi. When they run into the demon Arijugoku, which resembles an ant-lion larva, it bites off Hyakimaru's genuine leg and causes him to scream in pain. Meanwhile, in an effort to increase her income, Mia departs that evening to serve Daigo men, and Dororo learns at a ripeness of childhood about what kind of work she's doing. Hyakimaru travels back with Biwa Hoshi to Mio's camp. His voice is back, but his leg is only partially there. While this is going on, Dororo inquires about Mio's job with the other kids, but they're not informed. With Mio's assistance, Hyakumaru gradually becomes used to using his hearing and speech. The crimson in his spirit starts to diminish as they get attracted to one another. Hyakumaru returns to confront the Arijigoku monster despite only having partially recovered, this time armed with several swords the kids found on the battlefield. He kills the demon and his leg immediately regenerates. Hyakumaru and Dororo find Mio fatally wounded and the orphans being killed by Daigo soldiers because they think Mio is a Sakai spy when they get back to the shrine. As a result of the attack on Mio, Hyakumaru becomes furious and begins to massacre all the Daigo soldiers. Dororo steps in to stop him out of concern that Hyakumaru would turn into a demon. Later, Dororo discovers Mio holding some priceless seed rice that she had stolen from the samurai she hated so much in order to start her farm. Hyakumaru and Dororo continue their journey after burying the dead. In possession of a man, the female demon, Jorogumo, is found by Hyakumaru and Dororo. The demon is attacked by Hyakumaru and injured, but she manages to flee. The pilgrims enter a nearby town where men frequently vanish at night. The suffering demon, who takes the guise of a lovely woman, is discovered by the gentle Yajido the following day after setting out on a trail. He brings her home, offers her some ohagi to eat, and gives her the name Ohagi, since she thoroughly enjoyed it before departing to work at the Lord's Quarry. Ohagi refuses to eat Yajido despite the fact that she's starving due to his kindness. It is revealed that local men have not been captured or killed, but rather that Yajido has been assisting them in escaping the request of the local lord. Yajido offers to help the allying Ohagi leave the hamlet. Hyakumaru attacks Ohagi when they run into one another, but she manages to flee with Yajido. Ohagi is led to a hidden mountain route by Yajido. However, they come under attack by the Lord's men, and Yajido is hurt. Hyakumaru is drawn to Ohagi as a result of her attack on the troops, which infuriates her. Hyakumaru withdraws and lets Ohagi escape with Yajido as they prepare to fight to the death because she's worried about Yajido and the red demon color of her soul is fading. When the demon Nokosadagumo descends in a dark cloud above a village, the inhabitants hastily prepare a woman to serve as its sacrificial bride. A wild lad named Sadu tries to put an end to the sacrifice as Hyakumaru and Dororo watch the bridal procession ascend the mountain. Dororo and Hyakumaru consent to kill the demon after Sadu tells them the tale of Nokosadagumo and explains that he views the sacrifice as his sister. They're surrounded by a dark cloud, and Nokosadagumo appears as a gigantic centipede. Hyakumaru is unable to distinguish between the demon and the cloud because they both appear red in his field of view, and the cloud swallows the woman. With the help of the sulfurous vapors the mountain emits, Dororo and Sadu prepare to set off an explosion that sets the monster on fire, but has little impact. It's amazing that the child is the brains behind the operation. After that, Dororo leaps into Nokosadagumo's head and summons Hyakumaru, allowing him to find and slay the centipede by sound assault. Hyakumaru, Dororo, and the woman who survived being swallowed whole fall into a spring as the dark cloud disappears. When Saru discovers his sister, he's relieved and decides to join her in the hamlet. Hyakumaru regains his sense of smell and acknowledges Dororo by name for the first time. When Dororo starts suffering from a fever, Hyakumaru brings him to a temple where he's treated. Dororo, who is busy, sees some blood-red spider lilies, which bring back memories of his mother Ojiya and his father Hibukuro. Hibukuro was a morally upright commander of a band of ex-farmers who frequently raided samurai as a retaliation for their loss and suffering. His second-in-command, Itachi, no, not the one from Naruto, proposed that they invade a Yanagimoto company that was fatigued from war. But Itachi had created the trap because he had determined that it would be more advantageous to serve a samurai lord. He took the men who were left of Hibukuro and broke his legs. Hibukuro claimed that the hue of red spider lilies may be derived from those who perished in combat, and that the family was left to loot dead on the battlefield for supplies. They come upon some samurai who were destroying a village one day. After a tense battle, Hibukuro is identified and ultimately slain. By searching for food, Dororo and Ojiya manage to survive, but Ojiya eventually perishes from malnutrition amid a field of scarlet spider lilies. When Dororo returns to the present, she recovers, but the priestess tells Hyakumaru that Dororo is truly a girl and refers to her as a young girl after taking off her garments to wash them. Kagemitsu Daigo is informed that Hyakumaru might still be alive by a witness to the attack on Mio's camp. After damaging a man's boat, the crab-like creature Bakemonogani devours the victim. Lord Kagemitsu is informed of the Asakura clan assembling on their border while the drought in the Daigo region intensifies. More shattered demon sculptures are discovered when he enters the temple, and the demons notify him that Hyakimaru is still alive and slowly reclaiming the parts of his body that have been taken. Tahomaru, Kagemitsu's son, learns that his father is looking for a child. Later, when Tahomaru and his two bodyguards, Mitsu and Hyogo, come across a village, they learn that there is a lake monster that preys on fishermen. He paddles a group of people onto the lake, where they assault and hurt the monster, but they're forced to flee because it is too fierce. Tahomaru instructs the villagers to build a trap after that, hoping to draw the creature into a narrow channel so that the water may be drained. The strategy succeeds as Tahomaru, Mitsu, and Hyogo jointly engage in combat. The monster, though, fights back and nearly eats Hyogo, but Hyakimaru shows up just in time to kill it. Tahomaru is just left scratching his head in confusion. The name of Hyakimaru is revealed to Tahomaru, and the two travelers enter the Daigo capital. They watch a play there that portrays Kagemitsu Daigo as a great demon slayer who is shielded by the goddess of mercy. In the Hall of Hell, the Bawa Hoshi searches for the truth, while Hyakimaru and Dororo explore the ruins of Fort Banmon. On the location of the village he demolished, Daigo constructed it. A demon is said to have cursed it. They discover the remains of a wooden wall that the Asakura used to arrow pinch the bodies of their adversaries. They come across Sukeroku, a little boy who wants to cross over to the Asakura side and find his family. The incident involving Hyakimaru is reported by Tahomaru's bodyguards to Kagemitsu Daigo, who learns that his son is still alive, and despite his wife's pleadings, decides to kill him in order to preserve the prosperity of his domain. Tahomaru overhears their conversation and subsequently encounters a mad woman who witnessed the birth of Hyakimaru. She explains to him how the boy was still alive after the demons devoured everything. A nine-tailed fox demon materializes in Danmon as night falls. Sukeroku exploits the distraction to get around the wall with Dororo pursuing as it attacks Hyakimaru, but they are apprehended by Asakura sentries. The arrows of a squadron led by Kagemitsu Daigo himself eventually drive the demon away, and he then turns to face Hyakimaru. When Hyakimaru notices demonic red in Kagemitsu Daigo's soul, he doesn't recognize his father and is perplexed. Hyakimaru is on the run when Kagemitsu commands his archers to fire at him. While Sakeroku and Dororo are being imprisoned in a prison in Asakura among other Daigo inmates, Dororo tries to escape. Tahomaru asks Nunokata about the fate of his brother there, but Kagemitsu responds by explaining the deal he struck with the demons to preserve their territory. Nunokata asks Tahomaru if he would be prepared to give up the land to save his brother, which horrifies Tahomaru. The Daigo army advances, drawing the Fox Demon, as the Asakura begin to kill their prisoners at the Banmon. Tahomaru, who has grudgingly accepted his father's decision and is accompanied by Lord Kagemitsu and his troops, confronts Hyakimaru. Tahomaru's sword is broken and Hyakimaru injures his right eye before killing the demon and causing it to be pulled into the Banmon. Arriving and pleading for pardon for her involvement in Kagemitsu's deal, Nui no Kara, she then kills herself with a knife, and the Banmon is destroyed as a result of her sacrifice. When the village's survivors come, Sukeroku is reunited with his mother. The goddess of mercy's small wooden headless statue, which gave up its own head at Hyakimaru's birth so the boy wouldn't lose his head in his father's deal with the demons, is picked up by the Bawa Hoshi, and its soft green aura vanishes. While Dororo tries to persuade Hyakimaru to go to an onsen, the latter continues his search for demons. Later, near the faceless Buddha statue, known as Hakumen Fudo, Dororo meets a woman named Okaka, who resembles her mother. He introduces the characters Hyakimaru and Okaka, who recount the tale of the sculptor who began the Buddha statue carving, but passed away before finishing the face. Okaka wraps up the tale of the demon that lived in the statue but yearned for a face as Dororo passes out from drug use. In order to bring human offerings so that it may take their faces, it's revealed the sculptor as Okaka, giving her the capacity to alter both her look and voice. Hyakimaru is revived as Okaka brings him to the waterfall and begins to engage Hakumen Fudo in combat. Okaka paralyzes Hyakimaru using the demon's might, but Dororo begs her to spare him. As a result of Dororo's pleading, Okaka permits herself to be cut by Hakumen Fudo's sword, which allows Hyakimaru to strike and smash the demon statue while Okaka disintegrates. Later, while visiting an onsen, Hyakimaru and Dororo run into the Bawa Hoshi and some of the other kids who see a map that appears on Dororo's back. The assault on the Nui no Kata's life is shown to have been averted, but Tahomaru has lost vision in his right eye. In a flashback, Dororo's father, the robber Hibukuro, had drawn a portion of a map showing where he had buried his money on the back of his wife, Ojiya, and the remaining portion on Dororo's back so that the two of them might retrieve it later together. Before her mother passed away, Dororo learned the map from her mother's back. The Bawa Hoshi and Hyakimaru understand the map appears when Dororo's back warms up, giving her various life choices, according to the Bawa Hoshi. Hyakimaru keeps looking for demons despite Dororo being grabbed by a gigantic baby-like monster unfazed. The monster vanishes as they approach Sabame, the land's lord, who is bringing a flower-like offering for the spirit that resides there, and they arrive to a demolished temple. He extends an invitation to stay at his residence, claiming that the temple had housed a nunnery that abused children before being struck by lightning and being destroyed, which killed everyone inside. The following evening, a caterpillar-like monster attacks the travelers, but after Hyakimaru strikes it, Mai Onba, a massive moth-like demon, appears and drags the creature away. Mothra came to the rescue, huh? The moth changes into a woman with white hair as it lands close to Sabame. Sabame comforts her and swears to look after her and her kids when she admits the food he gave her kids was too potent. When Dororo travels to Sabame's rich village, she finds everyone to be content. Call it a haven of a place, if you will. In the middle of the jungle, she discovers a warehouse for rice, but the people force her into the cellar. Although Dororo is in danger from the caterpillar monsters who inhabit there, the baby monster comes back to save her. The monster erupts, unleashing the ghosts of the kids from the burned-down temple that Sabame and the villagers gave to Mai Onba. Outside the settlement, Sabame relates to Hyakimaru how he married the Mai Onba after accepting her as the village protection against roving samurai and monsters. Hyakimaru vigorously defends himself against the Mai Onba moths as they attack him after emerging from their chrysalids. The final one, however, obliterates Hyakimaru's artificial limb and later offers itself as a sacrifice to ignite the settlement. The people battle over the last of the food after Dororo burns down the storeroom, destroying the caterpillars and the village's rice supplies. The original Mai Onba is tracked down and killed by Hyakimaru, who also gives him back his spinal column. He and Dororo return through the burned-out village of Sabame, where many residents, including Sabame, are found dead. Hyakimaru responds that his only interest is eliminating demons when Dororo questions whether they made the correct decision. Hyakimaru and Dororo part ways, but Itachi and his men track down Dororo. Itachi demands to see Dororo's side of the map after taking it from Ojiya's back. Despite Dororo's denials, Itachi and his men take her nevertheless, since they think she has learned the map by heart. They journey for days, using the portion of the map that Ojiya left behind and which Itachi found after discovering the corpse. They reach Cape Hakotsu, where the wealth is hidden, but they need a boat to get there. They search unsuccessfully for boats in a nearby village that they suspect was burned by robbers until coming upon Shiranui, a young man with one arm who offers to transport them across. They board Jidomaru and Saburonamu, two vessels propelled by enormous sharks. Midway through the journey, Shiranui confesses that after feeding the sharks his arm, they began to crave human flesh, so he killed the villagers to feed them. He sent Saburonamu to keep an eye on the second boat till they return later to dine, since he doesn't want them to overindulge. Itachi, who is discouraged, describes how his lord took advantage of him and his warriors. Dororo scolds them for quitting and then dives into the water to act as bait to entice Saburonamu. When she signals, they pull her up and stab the shark to death when it comes to the surface. At Cape Hakotsu, they later canoe ashore. The bandits brutally beat Shiranui when he gets ashore to investigate. Shiranui swears vengeance as they tie up Dororo and depart with the finished map. While struggling to move elsewhere, Hyakimaru comes into a monk who informs him of a man nearby named Jukai, who can give him a new limb. A ghoul attacks Jukai as he joins the dead on the battlefield, but Hyakimaru shows up and kills it. Jukai is appalled as Hyakimaru explains what his father did to him back in his cave. Jukai comes to the realization that while Hyakimaru's outward appearance has improved, his internal humanity has decreased. Hyakimaru must face his own family if he's to defeat demons. Thus, he's hesitant to heal his leg out of concern that it would spark more conflict. Hyakimaru reveals that he's not alone as he makes his way out while remembering Dororo. As they emerge from the cave, they discover that the neighboring Ayakashigi demon tree's fruit is spawning more ghosts. Hyakimaru just goes ham and kills essentially everyone, including Ayakashigi. Minokana recovers from her suicide attempt at the Daigo compound, but Tahomaru leaves without paying her any attention in order to kill a rumored ghoul. He locates a rat-like ghoul and attacks it with his helpers. Tahomaru then sets the structure on fire, swearing to use his sword to protect Daigo territory, killing the ghoul and any offspring that were still alive inside. Kagemitsu sends Tahomaru and a small army to murder Hyakimiru when they return. Hyakimaru was rowing a small boat towards Cape Okatsu in the meantime. Jidamaru, a gigantic shark summoned by Shiranui to consume Saburomaru's corpse, transforms into a demon capable of traveling on the land. When it attacks Dororo, Hyakumaru defends her by slaying the demon. The left leg of Hyakumaru gets repaired. When Itachi discovers a cave, 2 of his men rush inside but are killed by explosives that have been placed therein. Tahomaru instructs that his fleet leave no one alive as they land on the shore in pursuit of Hyakumaru. That sounds like a mistake, boys. Just get away. The man's got plot armor. Anyway, the last of Itachi's men are killed by Daigo arrows, and Itachi is found wounded by Dororo and Hyakumaru. Itachi grabs Dororo and flees more arrows as Tahomaru, Mutsu, and Hyogo fight Hyakumaru. In an effort to murder everyone, Shiranui removes the booby trap bombs from above and explodes them, killing himself and triggering a landslide. They decide to retreat, believing Hyakumaru is dead, after many of Tahomaru's men are killed and Hyogo is seriously injured. In the meantime, Itachi, who is fatally injured, and Dororo stumble upon the wealth after falling into a cave made by the explosion. After seeing it, Itachi passes away. When Dororo discovers Hyakumaru, she chooses to keep the treasure a secret until she determines what to do with it. The villagers inform Hyakumaru and Dororo that Munetsuna's swords are subpar, and that his daughter Okawa is ugly when they ask him to fix the swords in Hyakumaru's prosthetic. Despite the horrifying Hyotoko masks that cover their entire home, they discover that neither is true. A spell is performed on Hyakumaru by an Amano Jaku when Munetsuna brings the swords to a temple to be cleaned. As a result, Hyakumaru stops on his quest and decides to wed Okawa. Well, even if you're being hunted down forever, you need to get laid every once in a while. Dororo intended to discard Hyakumaru's swords because she felt rejected, but instead, she ran into Munetsuna in the foundry and told him how she felt. The following morning, Dororo discovers that everyone in the village, including herself, has been speaking the exact opposite of what they need, and that Munetsuna's masks have somehow made it possible to speak the truth. Amano Jaku leads Hyakumaru to attack Dororo when she enters the temple wearing a mask, but Munetsuna, who is also wearing a mask, defeats the Amano Jaku. The cunning Amano Jaku was imprisoned behind a statue in the temple, but it managed to escape, according to Munetsuna. When Okona understands that the Hyotoko masks have been keeping them safe, Munetsuna sets the statue upright and releases the Amano Jaku. Hyakumaru and Okawa end their engagement, although she eventually weds a young villager. Hyakumaru puts the repaired swords back in service and travels with Dororo. Tahomaru and his companions notice disaster befalling Daigo's villages. They surmise that the demons are angry, Hyakumaru isn't dead because it began at the boundaries and is now moving within the communities. After the Goddess of Mercy statue was destroyed and he returned to his compound, Kagemitsu Daigo realized that his agreement with the demons had been cancelled and that the days of wealth were over. Hyakumaru and Dororo run upon Dice Spot Saburota, a local demon hunter whose mother was devoured by a local demon. They wait until a massive Nue appears. When Hyakumaru tries to combat it, Saburota intercepts him and now enjoys watching the monster eat horrified onlookers. Hyakumaru and Dororo are fighting when they slide down a rocky hillside, and Dorodoro's arm becomes stuck. Despite severing his left prosthetic limb, Hyakumaru is unable to liberate her as the level of the underground water rises. Though his sword is damaged, the Bawa Hoshi suddenly makes an appearance and releases Dororo. Hyakumaru fights and seriously wounds the Nue, still determined to reclaim his body. Saburota is consumed by it out of desperation, becoming part of it. Finally, Hyakumaru kills it, but no body parts are given to him, even after he chops the Nue into bits, much to Dororo's horror. The Bawa Hoshi, who believes that Hyakumaru has a difficult lot to bear, observes dejectedly, as the cruelty causes his aura to turn red. To fully recover his body, Hyakumaru realizes he must confront Kagemitsu Daigo. In his unwavering pursuit of his body parts, Dororo is devastated when Hyakumaru enters Daigo's territory. The villager recognizes them and alerts Kagemitsu Daigo. As a result, diseased villagers are destroyed and their residents are slain. Strong men are enlisted to fight in the war against the Asakura clan, which is a menace. And horses, notably Midoro, a nursing mother mare, are taken into custody. To stop Hyakumaru himself, Tahomaru resolves to travel with Mutsu and Hyogo. Along the way, Mutsu and Hyogo recall being taken prisoner after withstanding the murder of their parents, only to be set free by Kagemitsu and reared by Tahomaru. They come across Hyakumaru and Dororo in a gully, filled with the corpses of soldiers, and team up to assault him. As Dororo watches in horror at Hyakumaru's brutality, he amputates Mutsu's right arm, Hyogo's left arm, and Tahomaru's right eye. Suddenly, Kagemitsu's warriors, who have been ordered to guard their prince, step in. Midoro is sent in by the leader bearing explosives, killing the horse and blowing Hyakumaru down to ravine. Tahomaru is subdued by a dart when he refuses to go, and the villagers arrest Dororo. Midoro becomes a flaming horse as spirits take possession of its body parts. While Kagemitsu gets ready to stave off an imminent onslaught by the Asukara clan, who intend to fight at Banman, Tahomaru's gang returns home with Dororo. Because of his fury over Dororo's kidnapping, Hyakimaru attracts the demon horse to him. Mutsu, who lost her right arm and is now frail from an illness she was hiding, is visited by Tahomaru, but she declines to see him because she won't risk contracting the condition. In the meantime, Nui no Kara releases Dororo in appreciation for keeping Hyakimaru company and departs with him. When their boat capsizes in the swift water, Daigo refugees, including the Bawa Hoshi, come to their aid. To assist in providing care for the wounded and ill, Nui no Kara chooses to remain. Having fallen ill, Mutsu leaves the property, causing Tahomaru and Hyogo to follow her. In another location, Hyakimaru has allied with the demonic horse, Midoro, and is hunting down Dororo by slicing a bloody gash through Daigo's warriors. In order to defend the region and its residents, Mutsu stumbles to the demon's temple and gives herself to the 12th and last demon. When Tahomaru and Hyogo come, her offer has been declined. But when Tahomaru, Mutsu, and Hyogo later confront Hyakimaru, the demon has healed their wounds. Mutsu and Hyogo each have one of the actual Hyakimaru's arms, while Tahomaru has both of his eyes. The bordering Daigo people prepare for the coming war, while Midoro's foal flees. In an effort to retrieve his eye and arms, Hyakimaru fights Tahomaru, Mutsu, and Hyogo in a badass handicap battle. The Bawa Hoshi are keeping Nui no Kara and Dororo from joining the conflict while it's happening. Attacking Mutsu and Hyogo, Midoro is wounded when her foal arrives and causes her to become distracted. Midoro crushes Mutsu and takes off Hyogo's skull in a fit of wrath. Hyakimaru's arms reappear after they die, and he uses his bare hands to seize the two sword blades that were in his prosthetic arms to continue fighting Tahomaru. When he notices Nui no Kara and Dororo approaching, Hyakimaru is overcome with emotion and flees, with Tahomaru following. Kagemitsu Daigo commands his army to advance at the border in an effort to overthrow the Asakura and give his actions some sort of justification. Hyakimaru and Tahomaru continue fighting as they arrive at the Daigo fortress. They knock over a candle holder during the scuffle, which ignites the castle. Dororo and Nui no Kara, who are drawn in by their compassion for the young brothers, are alerted by the smoke. Both Tahomaru and Hyakimaru contend that the blazing Daigo castle is their inherited territory, as they continue their bloody conflict there. As Bukai approaches the castle through a secret tunnel, Nui no Kara departs from the Bawa Hoshi and Dororo. Hyakimaru finally defeats Tahomaru above them, but he spares his life. Thanks for not killing off my boy Taho. I'll appreciate that forever. The demon possessing Hyakimaru's eyes tries to possess Tahomaru, but he succeeds in removing the eyes, which go back to Hyakimaru. He regains his health after Hyakimaru kills the demon, and Jukai presents him with a newly carved Goddess of Mercy statue. As the castle burns, Dororo and Hyakimaru are reunited. As Tahomaru passes away in her arms and the castle crumbles, Nui no Kara attends to him. As Kagemitsu Daigo leads his army against the Asakura while suffering heavy casualties, the final demon statue falls in the Hall of Hell. Later, as Hyakimaru discovers his father injured but defiant in the Hall of Hell, Dororo suggests finding the riches to aid the Daigo refugees. But Kagemitsu understands Hyakimaru would have been able to preserve his land if he didn't make the deal with the demons when Hyakimaru leaves without murdering him and leaves the statue of the Goddess of Mercy behind. In the closing scene, which takes place a few years later, a young woman named Dororo hurries to welcome Hyakimaru. That concludes the tale of Hyakimaru and Dororo, a duo that we will never forget. God bless you, Mappa. You've given us something truly great. And that's the end of the video. As always, if you liked what you saw, subscribe to the channel. I'll be uploading a lot of videos just like this, so I'll see you at the next one.
And I'm pretty sure that you are.